Hello, I'm Bookface, and I'm here with another speed drawing. I'm not really combining anything. This is a great start. I'm taking the twins from Outlast, since they're mm, some of the most recognizable characters, and also they're kind of cool looking, cool design, I guess. I don't know, they're kind of just dudes. Anyways, I'm taking them and turning them into a giant mutant, uh, my words escape me at the moment, Resident Evil boss. So I got the idea from this because of mostly, uh, you saw it in the references, the creature from the game The Forest, which is just this amalgamation of people. And I'm like, hey, what if I did that? And I got this instant spidery kind of design of back to back kind of trust exercise, I think is what that is. And decided that could be interesting. A weird fusion of two people. It's a lot more interesting sounding in my head. So yeah, as with most of my Outlast things, I'm sure it's green because you know that whole green night vision thing is so integral to Outlast that basically anything Outlast has to be in that green tinge. Did two different shades of green, of course, to show the different bodies and the definite split. These hands were interesting to draw. I'm like, this is not how you draw a hand, and that made it easier because I'm like, oh, nobody knows how this would be drawn, so I can draw it however I want. The legs were surprisingly difficult, or rather, surprisingly in depth. I think it's because I started this, and then I think I took like a month of just not doing anything with it. I was like, my motivation was a little lax, and I didn't have as many ideas as I thought I did. Kind of jumped into this one, but I came back after a while and I'm like, hey, I got some ideas, and yeah. So unfortunately, I took the same leg design and just warped it a bunch to make the different legs at different positions. So a lot of copy and paste, but you know, when you got something that works, and I had to draw six legs. Nah, drawn one and editing it three times. Or two times probably is better. Look at that pointy foot. Look at that old pointy foot. I really thought I would only be drawing from like one perspective, but yeah, I had to draw some of the legs facing backwards and side and forward to make it look more like it's at like these various angles instead of just there a bunch of legs in some chaotic whatever. And of course, me copying the hand because yeah, I wasn't about to draw that again. Um, huh. Well, this is awkward. Kind of thought I'd have a little more commentary for it, but ultimately it was just kind of fun. I spent a long time just drawing it because I felt like it. Here's where I did the necks, but I decided to sort of twist it in a way. Instead of just having the two necks side by side, I'd have them curving about. I guess I could technically talk about the Resident Evil aspects of this aside from the Outlast parts. I've been playing a lot of Resident Evil recently, and yes, it's interesting. It's definitely inspired a few of these drawings. I feel like if I hadn't played the games, all of these drawings would just be based off the Resident Evil remakes version of William Birkin. And as cool as that design is, I can't use that for everything. This one I use one from Resident Evil 4 that's just called It, which stellar name design. Name design. And also just the giants that show up in that game. And honestly, I didn't use too much from the giant since it's kind of just a person, but giant. But, vibes. I think I used it to work out the head a little bit. Maybe just a little general idea of how I wanted to do the proportions. Because I think the giants in Resident Evil are like well proportioned where they seem like they could actually move and not just be these slow, stocky whatevers. This is one drawing that I felt was really, really important to get the shading right, so it like looks relatively realistic. If it doesn't, then it just looks like I don't know some weird little creature. But Resident Evil is all about grotesque detail, so I had to make it as real looking as I could manage. Uh, Weird spending so much like on the legs and the arms. Usually those are like little things and the main features come in the face or the body. Nope, it's all arms and legs in this one. A lot of repetition, but that also means there's a lot of pattern which I can repeat. It was interesting trying to figure out what the distinct facial features were from the twins. I mean, they're not identical, they have different models, but also, I've never been really one to remember a face, and turns out video game face is not that much different in that regard. I don't remember a lot of faces. So I'm just like, angles, bigger, wider, thinner. Here's me blending some things in so it doesn't look like an anatomy model. I was happy with what I did with the eyes, though it took a second for them to come together. Gotta, I like the middle one. Instead of just having four eyes, basically did I did two and two two halves, two half eyes. No, 2 and 2.1. I don't know, but just making that goopy little thing. I don't know why I chose orange, but now it just kind of makes me think of the Nickelodeon logo, or at least what it used to be. I don't know if it's. I don't think it's still that. And here's my favorite part of any of these drawings, at least, because even if it's not my favorite to like have in the final product, it's my favorite to do because it's pretty easy. Random gore. I just throw in a bunch of meaty injuries. I use the sponge tool to give that pattern. I throw around some random lighting, and then I use the plastic wrap tool to really emphasize those highlights and make it look like weird shiny patterns. I tried just using the eraser to make the edges fade out, but it just kind of didn't work. So then I just went back with the pinchy tool. I don't remember what it's called, and like stretching the edges to make it seem like they don't just stop abruptly. I made these little blades on the wrists. It's because the twins in the game have machetes, which, considering the background of the game is that it's an asylum, specifically, I believe, for particularly dangerous individuals, I don't know why there would be a machete anywhere at all. Actually, why would you have a machete there? Maybe it's the gardeners. Maybe they are the gardeners. Who knows? Oh yeah. Also, I don't know why, but I chose to make the teeth going outward from the mouth instead of inward, which doesn't really make sense in a chewing whatever. And there's of course me changing the perspective to make it look bigger, wider base, smaller top. It kind of looks more like I don't know if I've mentioned it, but like that. I always remember. I don't know what happened there. When I think of Godzilla, I always think of a triangle. Like the head's real tiny. What was that? um, Head's real tiny, base real broad. I, I don't know what's happening here. And of course, me doing the shadow because shadow is peak detail, in my opinion, apparently. Even though I have no idea where the light source is coming from. I'm just like, there's probably a shadow. Me spooking the eyes. You gotta spook the eyes if you're gonna make it spooky. Then me going through every layer of skin and adding texture. And here we have our final project, which I have dubbed the Liver Lickers. Uh, it's an it's an interesting project to look back on, because on the one hand, I feel like this is one of the best creatures I've drawn. I think all the details come together pretty well. It's simple enough while also being pretty unique, so it doesn't look too much like something else, but also distinctly calls from what it is. On the other hand, the background, I don't know, I don't know what that background's supposed to be. What is this? Some post-apocalypse, and that's a small. I don't know. I just kind of drew a background that I thought would kind of go for the tone, and yeah, wasn't really much to say about this one. It was all kind of yada yada. Draw a person, make it weird. That's how I do. If I had to try this again, I'd probably go for a little more of that Resident Evil flair. I do think this is nice for like what it is, and I think it's a good creature to my portfolio. But on the other hand, it doesn't really bring to mind Resident Evil as much as I wanted it to. Because Resident Evil bosses get crazy with their mutations. This one's just kind of fused together and got a bunch of little exposed patches. In terms of like how I originally visualized it though, I think I got pretty spot on to what I imagined. Only difference maybe being that the necks are a little thin, the head's a little small, even with like the triangle thing that I would talk about. I want it to look proportional. That being said though, I'm still pretty happy with this. Just have to work on my general art art sense of like having a better eye for positioning and backgrounds and make it feel more a part of it. Because while this one has a bit more of a dynamic kind of pose ish, and like how its arms are moving about, it still looks pretty stiff. It doesn't really look like it's doing anything but standing there. I just realized with the way I did the neck, it kind of looks like it's trying to say, "What'd you just say about me?" I don't know. I'm just imagining like this thing walking to the right. All of a sudden, it hears you talking some smack. It turns around, being like, "Excuse me." I don't know. It's just a weird little thing to pose. And because of some of the dialogue in Outlast, I have dubbed this Liver Lickers or Liver Licker, depending on how you wanna, whether you want to see this as a singular or a plural, which honestly is a debate I could have, but I'm kind of tired today, so I'm not going to have that debate with myself. Not on camera, at least. Uh, but yeah, I think that's about it. If you like this video, please leave a thumbs up, comment down below, and subscribe. Uh, art tips, ideas, yada yada, put whatever in the comments. Put anything you want in the comments. As long as it's not a scam link or something, I've got pretty low standards. My comment section is low standard because of me. The people who do comment, y'all are great. Anyways, moving on. If you like this video, wait, no, I did that. I did that part already. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.